you're ready to wake up, you're going to wake up. And if you're not ready, you're going to stay pretending that you're just a poor little me.
Do you feel it?
Yes, we do.
A worldwide awakening is upon us. Welcome to the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Where we explore topics such as UFOs, aliens, banned medical cures, as well as classified secret knowledge. Come question your holographic existence. Share experiences from the other side. This is a show that will expand your mind as we decrypt the symbolic messages locked away deep within your DNA. And now, your guides for this magical journey. The hosts of the Universal Consciousness Show, Avi Nast and Diana Seraphim.
Hello, everybody. And yeah, that includes you. So far this year, how does 2020 treat you? I don't care how wonderful things are for you right now. It's going to get better. This is going to be a good year, and we claim that it will be. You are listening to the show for the Thinking Global Citizen. My name is Augie, and I'm one of the hosts, and I have Diana, my co-host, with me, and she is over in Germany. Are you there, Diana?
I am here. Hello, everyone.
Oh, yeah. And before I introduce our guests today, this is going to be good. I'm going to be all ears for these stories. But first, I want to tell you how you can connect with us. You can visit us on our website at universal-consciousness-show.com. And also on YouTube with the same name, Universal Consciousness Show. And please subscribe while you're there to our channel. That'll help us a lot. And you know how it works. You know, you click on the red button, and next to it there's a little black bell. Click on that too, because that's important. Because then you will get notifications when there are new shows coming up. And for those of you who would like to hear this again, you will find us, of course, at the website universal-consciousness-show.com and on YouTube, and of course also in the archives of KCOR Radio in Las Vegas. That is at kcorradio.com. And go into archives. You'll find us under Universal Consciousness Show. And we are on Twitter, iTunes, TuneIn, Alexa, Facebook, and a few other places. So, and if you're listening to the KCOR Radio website right now, there is this wonderful little feature down at the bottom of the page, and it's a donate button. If you like what you hear, we would love for you to also show us your gratitude, maybe by sending us a little donation. It just tells us that we are doing the right thing. But if you can't, that is perfectly all right. We love it because you're here. Gosh, without you, there would be no us. So it will be just you and me and the guests sitting here talking to ourselves, and that wouldn't be any fun. So anyway, now I am going to introduce the guests to you. We have Berit Stover and Beth Mund. They are co-authors of the book Living Beyond Fear, Sacred Letters from the Afterlife. And you'll find them on their website at thesacredletters.com. And I know there's a story behind why these two ladies got together to do what they do, because few of us have any real idea of what's behind the curtain. What is the afterlife? We are going to hear some stories of people on the other side that they've been in contact with. And this is going to get interesting. And without any more ado, I want to introduce Berit Stover and Beth Munn to the show. Welcome here.
Thank you, Aki and Diana.
Thank you so much. We're happy to be here.
Hello, Beth, and hello, Berit, and thank you so much for being with us today. Could you start by telling us in a squeezed story, how did it all begin for you? What brought you on this wonderful path and what brought you together for the first?
Oh, absolutely. Beth and I actually were introduced in 2016 by a friend who knew we both were connecting with people who had passed. And when we got together, it wasn't long after that that we found out, kind of by coincidence, that we actually could connect around the same spirit. So that was like, oh my gosh, that was our aha moment. We thought, wow, if we can connect around the same spirit, we can just merge our intuitive abilities and actually get more information. But what actually started coming through in 2016 were full letters, profound letters that were transcribed from these souls who we connected with. And we discovered that we were kind of the missing piece for each other. I'm almost like the scout. I can see in my mind's eye on a visual stage on my left, everything's on my left, I can see people gathered. And I can actually see when someone comes center stage, and I know that a letter's to go through Beth. Beth and I are in neighboring towns, so we're not always together. But for Beth, she's like the transcriber. So she will, through images and words and so forth, she will go into almost an angst and sit at her computer and in just sheer minutes receive these profound messages. And so that's kind of what started in 2016. In 2017, I had a dream that they were to be called sacred letters and that they were to be shared. And so that is how we've come to publish the first collection of these sacred letters, 21 of them that we published in September of 2019. But all of the messages are full of such love. They're so healing, so empowering. Each spirit, each soul is speaking to a more expanded view, not that they know everything, but a more expanded view of life here, and speaking to so many different human experiences, from grief to healing to addictions and so forth.
Yeah, and you just said something that just they don't know everything. A lot of people think that once you die, then you will have all the answers, but no, it doesn't work that way. I have a saying that just because you're dead doesn't make you smart.
No. You know what? We still have a choice when we go to the other side. And that's a really good saying, because it's absolutely true. And I connected for a woman who asked me to connect with her mother. And her mother, and she and her mother did not have the best relationship in this life. And when I connected, she didn't know what to expect, and I didn't either. I see a lot of classrooms going on the other side. People are interested in learning, which also shows that they don't have all the answers. They are still interested in learning and growing. And I said to her, well, your mother is smoking a cigarette and she's standing outside the classroom. And she said, oh, my mom did smoke. And she said, she's standing outside the classroom. And I said, yeah, she does not want to go in. She does not want to learn. So there is free choice. There is free choice. And she wasn't making the choice to learn and grow.
Yeah, there is a learning process, because what we know here, it follows us to the other side, and what we don't know here also follows us there. So we kind of have a little bit of an amnesia when we get onto the other side for a while until we get re-educated. Isn't that about how it would work?
Yeah, I think some of the things, I think what we're all speaking to is that we're progressing. All of us are spiritual beings progressing here and also there. So it's a continuous, it's just, it goes on for continuum. But I think it's also speaking to a healing, and I think coming back and kind of restoring ourselves on the other side. I think that consciousness is what follows us. It's a consciousness that we take with us, just like we take love with us across the realms.
And I find that although, we have a little time period where some healing occurs, like Berit said, I have been shown that we leave our fears and our doubts here in this life. So a place where there's connection and there's unbelievable love, and we don't have our egos following us there. So I think that is what I've been shown to be a difference between the other side and what we experience here.
Yeah. Is this some form of an ability that you come by recently, or have you had it all your lives?
So for me, I was going to the other side when I was a child. I had experienced some trauma, and I didn't know this till later on in life, but I was going to the other side. I was leaving my body. So when I reconnected with this ability, it was much later in life. And I had a loss that opened me up, and I went on a spiritual journey. I had a stillbirth, and was in dealing with a large amount of grief, and I went on the spiritual path, and that was my path. And for me, it didn't happen all at once. It happened over time. And I went to visit my Akashic records. I had an out-of-body experience. I was shown a healing technique. And this happened at different points, some during meditation, some just while I was out walking. And so when Berit and I had always been a writer. I do the automatic writing, and I'd always been a writer. And realized over time that some of my writing had been channeled. I just hadn't known it. And when Berit and I got together, all the pieces fit together, and the connection I was able to make with the other side, the automatic channeling, the all of that, for me it reemerged, but was there very early on.
Mm. Is there kind of like a process I know there are several people that do automatic writing, and there's different styles to it. And is there a process for that, more or less, that can be learned by people, or is it just something that is kind of given to you?
I think that it can be learned. For me, because I was a writer, it came naturally. And for, when I feel something coming on, I feel an angst, like almost an anxiety, like I'm filled with something I need to release. And then I sit down and I hear letters being dictated in my head, first, and then I'm typing it out as I'm hearing it very quickly. And I split off and go into a trance. I know there are people that, teach other people how to do the automatic writing. And so I think that we have we all have the ability, and we all have gifts. We just need to figure out where we're open and how to open up to those we're not open to. And just sitting and writing and seeing what comes through without thinking. Because it's our thoughts that get in the way. And for me, I go off into a trance. But if someone can sit just like they do in meditation and get a piece of paper and just write what comes to them, and they can start the flow that way.
Oh, I see here we have Margaret on the chat room asking you, could heaven just be a parallel universe?
I think that we are all so connected. So yes, I think that actually heaven is here. I think it's more of our consciousness of how we look at things and how we bring things forward, and really sort of tapping into the unseen. Like Beth was saying, I think everyone has those gifts. And when you think about sort of daily coincidences, oh my goodness, that was a coincidence. But really, was it? There's different things that are getting our attention, that are opening us up to things that are in the unseen realm, that we're all so connected. And I think in how we are thinking about things and how we're acting upon things, in choosing what energy we are using and so forth, we can tap into different realms. And we're all so connected. Even if we cannot see people that have passed, we're so connected to them, and they are so connected to us. We're so integrated and interrelated with one another.
Yeah, and here I go again, being the guy with the nuts and bolts. I tell you, though, what you just said there is science behind that. There is a lab at the UCLA University in California that has done experiments with telepathy, and they find out that when someone is able to send a thought to someone else, there's a specific place in the brain that lights up. And then they did other experiments. They find out that the time when that center in the brain lights up, it could take as much as several seconds before we actually think the thought, which tells them that our thoughts may not be our own. The thoughts may have been handed to us by something on the outside. With other words, what we're thinking may not always be our own thought. We are being given thought by something else.
Right. I think that speaks too to inspiration. I mean, receiving inspiration, where is that coming from? And again, there's so much more than what we see. And when we look for it, we see it. And when we feel it, and where we put our intention, so goes our energy, and then things open up. And I think it's to stay in that place of wonder and awe and questioning, because we still, of course, have free choice of what we decide to do and how we want to be and act and so forth. But when we are, when we're open to things and have questions and we have wonder, then we go into what can be possible. There's so much possibility. We are so powerful as spiritual beings, not necessarily egos, but we're so powerful to really create. We're constantly, every moment, we're creating with our thoughts and with our actions. We're creating and we're manifesting. Sometimes we don't see it immediately, but we're setting things in play that will unfold. And when we are just quiet and we just are, and when we can actually see these things. We can actually feel them. And I think that it's just marvelous, and it's a miracle, and it's full of mystery, but we're all part of it, which is the experience. It's the experience of being here in this earth.
Oops. Let me turn that phone down. Sorry.
I also wanted to add to what you were talking about with our thoughts. I feel I have two things to point out. I think that when I am feeling inspiration or guidance or something is coming through me, it feels very different than when I'm having my own thoughts. I feel more grounded. I feel more connected. I feel more sure of what is coming through me. It doesn't feel like myself. So I can have thoughts and I can speak them that feel very differently than some of the other thoughts that I am having. And also as an empath, I can tap into other people. I can tap into their feelings. So if I can tap into their feelings, when you were speaking about that, I thought, well, I can tap into their thoughts too. Mm-hmm. So there's a whole level of consciousness out there that we are affecting each other, whether it's our thoughts or feelings or actions even.
And if I could just add one more thing to that, the thing that's so amazing, and in this first book, we've put 21 letters, and 2 of those letters are actually channeled from, one was a dog and one was a woman who was in a coma who had not passed. So that kind of is speaking to tapping into those thoughts too. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have passed to connect with those thoughts. So one of the letters is a woman that we connected with who was in a coma, and I can sort of share that a little bit, but she was saying that our minds, our mind is where our consciousness goes, and it can go anywhere at any time with anyone. And she basically was connecting with us, and I said to Beth, oh my goodness, this woman that I sort of knew who was in a coma, we can speak with her. And soon after that, later that day, Beth transcribed this incredible letter that speaks to our mind, that it's our consciousness, that we've studied the brain so much, but it's our consciousness that is where we have the energy, where we continue on, where we have so much to explore within.
Yeah, and according to quantum mechanics, mind is all there is. In fact, they say even a mind-created universe. With other words, what we are seeing around us is not even there. It is just a projection of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh, that gets complicated, doesn't
Yes.
it?
But after all these experiences and all this channeling, did you get this information? I mean, we see so many people going through a near-death experience with terminal diseases, and as soon as they came back in their body, they experience a remission, a total remission of the disease. Is there a kind of information that could help us? I mean, we don't need to wait to die in order to heal ourselves. It could be something in the other realm, an information that heal this person, that could help us in this life without going through a near-death experience.
I think so. There's one letter that speaks to that. It's called Healing from Addictions. But basically, it was my cousin actually who passed from a drug overdose, and he came back and he's given us several letters. But he speaks to two pieces to that. One is to have self-reflection, not that we need to berate ourselves with what we've done, but to go back and just recognize. And then the second is to feel, to allow feelings to go through us. And so much of the many times, like stress or anxiety or disease can be also just bearing something, and it kind of he's speaking in this letter to creating holes. We need to fill those holes, HOLE, to come into wholeness and to feel our way through it, to let it move through us and release, and that has a restorative and a healing effect. So I don't know if Beth wants to add to that, but I think that is one of the messages that speaks to what we can do now to tap into our current situation and to be gentle with ourselves, to be loving, to give ourselves a love, because we're nothing less than that. We are always whole. We're always love, even if we don't think that.
Yeah, and the letters are so full with energy that reading through them, receiving them for us was healing for us. It just would feel connecting and would fill us with so much peace and love. And that is the basis for healing. Love is the basis for healing. Peace is the basis for healing. So many people struggle with imbalance and disease. There's a huge amount of stress and feelings that are repressed, as Berit said. And these letters are, the energy behind them, because of where we're tapping into and connecting, is filled with healing energy and brings many people have commented to us. It just brings them to a feeling of peace and well-being and love. So I do feel like they don't necessarily have that experience, but I think how we differ is we're having the ongoing connection. So when someone has a near-death experience, they go there, or they go to heaven, they go to the other side, they come back and they report what they felt, what they saw, and their life has changed. But with us, we have an ongoing communication that we wanted to write our book to present and give other people the chance, a peek into that communication, and to be able to receive that love and healing.
Yeah, I see we have 30 seconds left for the break here, so let's go to break, and we will be back right afterwards, speaking with the afterlife.
You're listening to the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Your weekly connection to the truth.
You get to really sort of enjoy a bizarre ride.
Share your knowledge by calling our hotline number at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Call now.
Worldwide callers find us on Skype at KCOR Radio. It's time to abandon your fear and question what you think you know.
And now, if you will, accompany me on a journey to the future.
More awakening awaits.
After this, after this, after this, after this, after this, after this.
Looking for intelligent talk? Then look no further. Expedition Truth. Expedition Truth. Hosted by Jack Ashcraft. Live on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. From spirituality and prophecies to philosophy, politics and science, and so much more, Expedition Truth is setting new standards for what intelligent talk radio should be. Jack explores all of the hot topics, as well as interviews some of the most respected academics and authors in their respective fields today.
Expedition Truth.
Live on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Intelligent talk for the discerning mind, because the truth never fears questions.
Hello, KCOR listeners. Lorian Fenton here from the Fenton Files to tell you about UFOCon 2020 in San Francisco, February 20th through 23rd. A conference like no other, UFOCon is where experiencers are going to reveal new information and science and consciousness will collide. So get your tickets at UFOCon2020.com. That's UFOCon2020.com. Don't miss what will be the most talked about conference of the decade.
Immerse yourself in an epic journey through time where ancient mysteries unfold within a story of love and betrayal, as well as a battle of good versus evil in The Emissary Book 1. The reader's favorite gold medal award winner for Visionary Fiction 2019, the action and adventure of The Emissary continues in The Emerald Tablet, Book 2. The 2019's Bronze Medal Award winner, The Emissary and The Emerald Tablet by Tamara Veach and Rennie DeFazio are both available now on Amazon.com. Let your reading adventure begin.
Here's what happened on the last episode of Three Guys, No Ties.
Oh, next week, John Jackson Miller will be on the show again. He's got something new coming up he's going to tell us about. I had a guess, but I just don't know, so I don't want to say it.
We can't say it because we don't know.
I just don't know. All right.
Three Guys, No Ties. Wednesday nights, 7 to 9 Pacific on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Are you ready to go?
It's showtime!
Here we go, world. You're listening to the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Broadcasting from the heart of Las Vegas, Nevada.
Your base is so large it has to draw most of its power from the nearby nuclear fusion plant.
The future of radio is here and now.
Going live in 3, 2, 1.
It's time, once again, to unravel the mysteries of the universe by connecting the dots to a higher consciousness. This is the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Now the world will begin hearing us.
Share your knowledge by calling 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
It's as simple as that.
Find us on Twitter at KCOR Radio or use hashtag KCOR. Even better, join us on the live chat at KCORradio.com. Back to your enlightened hosts, Agi Nost and Diana Serafin.
Hello, hello. We are back with the Universal Consciousness Show, and we are talking with Berit Stover and Beth Mund. They are the authors of the book Living Beyond Fear, Sacred Letters from the Afterlife. And I've had a look at that book, and boy, oh boy, folks, if you have an idea or if you want to know more about what is in the afterlife, this is the one you need to read. You will find them at thesacredletters.com. It is an eye-opener. If you were ever afraid of dying, you need to read this one, because you're going to find there is no such thing as death. And here we are again. Before the break, there was something that was mentioned in the passing, that they had contacts with animals. And boy, oh boy, I think they said they had a contact with a dog. Did that dog talk to you in dog language, like woof, or was it different?
Yes. Summer the dog is in our book, and she penned a message. And when I have had dogs my whole life, but when I met Summer, everything changed. She was different. I could feel the connection so strongly. I was so surprised. And then when I was just being with her, she would send me images. That's how she communicated with me, and I knew it was coming from her intuitively, and what she was sending me confirmed it. And she opened me up this communication with animals. And since I communicated with her, I've been able to communicate with a horse, with a cat, and with other animals. And so we always have that first time that we're able to do this, and then it lasts, and then it becomes one of our gifts. And Summer did end up penning a beautiful letter, and the letter, our dog, all of our pets are spiritual beings. Yeah. They have those feelings. They have jobs. They're in service while they're here. Some of their jobs is to love. All their jobs is to love, but some of them is they can take on an illness that we have. They can heal us. They can support us. They can be our friend, as many people are aware of, and that unconditional love is healing that they give. I'll let Berit speak to Summer's letter, but we can absolutely have that communication with our animals.
Yeah, Summer was beautiful. She was actually my dog, the family dog. She was a golden retriever, and she passed at 7 years. And what was remarkable is her letter speaks to two things. One, sharing our space, how animals are such spiritual beings, as Beth mentioned. She even said in her letter, she said, whether we are human or animal is not important. We are all created as spiritual beings. And then the second part of her letter was speaking to healing. My daughter, Sarah, when she was 14, and Summer was with us, had been diagnosed with a rare cancer, and about 25 kids in the world get this cancer each year. And Summer was speaking to absorbing that cancer. And as it turned out, my daughter went into remission, and she's now a senior in college, and Summer passed from cancer. And so just talking too about our soul contracts, so of things that we don't remember, that we spoke to, that we coordinated, that we contracts that we made with one another before we incarnated, whether we were human or animal. And it's a beautiful letter that is just full of such grace and such love, and just recognizing how connected, not only are we connected as humans, but we're so connected with our animals, and we're so connected with our earth. And what we do to one another, we do to ourselves. So I think it's just, it's a beautiful letter, and it was profound because Beth was connecting, and again, Summer channeled that while she was still living.
Wow, that sounds to me like the dog Summer came here with a purpose. Yes. To actually absorb that cancer from your daughter.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what came through, and when I connected with her, she had told me that, and she did describe our soul contracts. And they still have their soul lessons as well, our pets. They have past lives. I've connected with animals' past lives, and some of their behaviors in the current life is because of their past lives. So we have this contract. I think you've heard people say, "Oh, I went to the kennel and the dog picked me." When people are looking to adopt a pet, and it goes back to what you were talking about, Aggie, with our thoughts. When that thought comes in, go to the kennel. I should go to the kennel and adopt. Is that really coming from you, or is it coming from the animal that is there waiting?
Yeah, and there is a question brewing in there. Did you ever run into any person or animal that made a reference to the fact that they may have been both? Could a dog actually, the dog spirit later on, inhabit a human, or a human actually in the past maybe have been a dog or a horse?
I know. I connected with my dog, not a dog that I currently have. was before I connected with Summer, and I was just connecting with Reiki. I wasn't receiving any images from her, but I had a woman who was able to connect with her, and she had said that she was a horse in a past life. So my feeling is that if we're a spiritual being, we can go into any body. We can go into a horse to have that experience. We can go into a dog's body. We can go into a human body. That is the connection I made, and what was told to me before I had begun connecting was that my dog was a horse.
If everything is connected, that could make sense.
Yes.
Mm.
Wow.
And I think it's just shedding things that keep us from being. When we're here, what are our soul lessons? And it's really the fear and the doubt. So much is that's spoken about in all these letters, and they're very different because each one has its own distinct message. Each one is speaking from their own personality and so forth. But they all underline talk about fear and self-doubt as an illusion. There's one of our favorites. It's a very short letter, but it's from a woman, Grandma Ruth, who lived to be 93 and was said, that she was always in fear in life. And she said in her one of the phrases she wrote in her letter, she said, "Do not live your life in fear. I lived my life in fear and none of it came true. It prevented me from truly being present, being there as myself." And
Boy.
These letters are they're so full of wisdom in such a gentle, loving way, but nudging us to listen, I lived my life in fear. Yet now that I'm on the other side, I see, oh my gosh, it limited me from so much of what could have been possible, what I could have explored or experienced.
Yeah, and I wonder also, now you can, if people come to you, you can also help them make contact. Isn't
Yes.
that true?
Mm-hmm.
Explain how you can help other people make contact across the veil.
Yes, we can connect with because we, just like the letters that came through in our book, we can connect with souls on the other side. So we have people. I have someone who had come to me and said, "Can you connect with my father?" And I saw her father playing a trumpet in a band, and she said, "I don't know what that is about." Because my father didn't play an instrument. And then when I opened up the picture, so I see the picture come to me, and then I also hear things that are being said to me, words, phrases, songs. So then I heard the song "When the Saints Come Marching In," and I said to her, "I'm hearing the song, I'm seeing him in a band," and she said that was his favorite song. So I made that connection with him, and then I received a message about grief. And and it was for her mother, and I relayed that message. So what Berit and I do is, our goal is to help people with messages because they have a lot to say on the other side. They can't get their messages to their loved ones very often because it's not real. It's not out there enough that this is possible. And yes, there's messages and coincidences, and they try to get the messages to the loved ones, but a lot of people aren't aware of it, so they don't receive it. So when they do make contact with someone who can, they do have a lot to say. And what we usually do is receive a piece of information that speaks to who they are, that confirms it, whether we've gotten images of a wedding band or a band when someone was 16 and they exchanged rings. We've received all sorts of information, and then we receive the higher message for them. And it usually relates to what's going on with them, a challenge they're having, a struggle, or the grief they're experiencing from the passing of their loved one. We had someone's father came through and spoke about his funeral because the family had been disagreeing and there had been conflict around his funeral. So he was letting them know, to let it go. So that's how we have helped people through personal readings or in the the letters in our book are universal messages. So even though it might be directed towards someone, they're like, for instance, Berit spoke. There's a message on addictions. There's a message on grief. There's a message on loneliness. There's a message on how to navigate our world, because our world is very chaotic. How to find peace and love and light in our world.
Yeah, I was just going to say that was a really particularly interesting one. As Beth said, we have so many people. When you kind of are open, they're all coming through. In fact, I established a almost like a deli-style ticket machine up on my stage, because we can't hear everybody if everyone's talking at the same time. So everyone gets a number. Everybody will be processed. But what was so remarkable about the one that Beth was just talking about, Loving Within the Chaos, that letter, was that on my stage, I saw a whole group of people all with the number 1, and they moved collectively center stage. I knew a letter was coming. And it was a letter that was channeled from a group of people who passed in a plane crash. And they're speaking to loving within the chaos, that yes, our world has turmoil. Yes, we have chaos, but it's in those pockets of light that are always, always, always come after the darkness. There's always light behind the darkness. And it's in those pockets that we need to grow and feed and feel that light, feel that love, and bring that forward into our world. And it grows and it magnifies and it spreads like a ripple effect across the world.
Wow. Yeah, I also wonder, when do you get messages from the other side like that? Do they tell you what it looks like over there, what it is like, what kind of world they are now living in?
We have seen images. I've seen it in different snapshots. I've not, so if you can imagine more like a picture. I do see video clips. Someone who had just recently passed was I connected with him, and he showed me. Now they're going to come through with things that I will recognize in order to transmit a feeling or an image. So they use things that I will say, oh, I understand what they're saying, or I understand what they're trying to show me. And someone else might get a different image, but the feeling or the result is the same. So they had showed me this man who had just passed, and how he used a rope, the rope like you have in a gym class that you're climbing up. And he was an athlete. So he used that rope to go to heaven. Now, we believe that heaven is all around us, but very often people believe that we go up to heaven. And so that's how it was shown to me. And then he looked out, and it looked like a large city. And I was reminded of the Dr. Seuss story, The Grinch, how the Grinch stole Christmas, where all the people in the city are very happy and loving. The Grinch often is not, because he has his stuff, but the city is all loving and happy and no fear and doubt. And then when I asked to hone in on it to get a closer look, it reminded me of a busy restaurant. They had been sitting and eating pancakes for breakfast, and it was more recognizable as like being in Disney World, where everything is fantasy, meaning you go to a character breakfast, and there's these characters dressed up in costumes, and they're happy and they're loving, and everyone is in such a place of love and fun. And so I believe that's why that was shown to me, to portray the feeling of what people feel, what the atmosphere is like there.
And I think if I can add one thing to what Beth said, that everyone's doing something. I had an out-of-body experience in 2016. I have MS, and I had another episode, and so I was hospitalized, and they said, oh, you have new lesions, and I was put into a MRI machine for 2 hours, and I could see myself lying on the tray below, but I was taken to so many places simultaneously. There's just no time, and was told so many things, including you're a messenger. And I asked, how do I give messages to people I've never met? And they said they will give me the information, and they always give me that one piece of information that makes everything click. But that all of it is one of the scenes that I was taken to was, again, on my left to this hill with lots of people, and everyone was speaking to what they're doing. Everyone's doing something. There's still vocation, there's still service, there's still engagement, and it was fascinating. It's as much here as it is there, and vice versa. So it's a very much of a it's just, again, it's so full of learning and progress, and our souls evolving and being connected with one another, there and here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it just blows my mind away listening to this, because most people, most everybody, unless you're a hardcore atheist, and even they have cracks in their beliefs once in a while where they wonder, am I right? But the thing is that most people are wondering about these things. And I think what you ladies are doing is phenomenal, because you're not just giving them general information. From what I'm hearing is that you get information that confirms it to the people that you get information to.
Yes. We do get confirmation when we relay the information. And in response to what you had just said, people are wondering this because they know the truth of it. Even though we have the veil and we have amnesia about all of this, you don't wonder something that you don't have a hunch about. Mm-hmm. And that's been, it's an intuition, and that's why most people wonder about it, even those atheists, like you say. They're wondering because they know, they just don't remember it, but they know there's a truth to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's that seeking that's so important. I just want to say one of the people that we connected to was actually Archangel Gabriel, who channeled a letter that's in this book. And there's a beautiful passage, and I use her as a her, but Archangel Gabriel says, "What will unfold for you, you cannot imagine, but one must try. For all we see and know is all we are capable of achieving." So I think it's encouraging us to seek out those intuitions, like Beth was saying, to have that wonder, to question, and then let things just be aware. What's coming into your path? What are you hearing on the radio, and the songs, or what are you hearing in different messages or in images? And then to continue to open up to that, to tap into so much that is already there for us to see and experience.
Have you ever had any references to reincarnation? Maybe there's somebody said, well, yeah, I have reincarnated, but I'm back here talking to you for this moment.
I don't think we've had a specific letter to that. Is right, Berit?
I'm trying to think. We have so many met letters.
Yeah, we haven't addressed that, but it will likely come forward in other books. We have received messages that our soul is eternal, and that if it's not going to happen now, if you're not going to wake up in this life, it's okay. That we're all on our own journey, and there will be another opportunity in another life, and that we're here to evolve. And so we've had people talk about that there are future lives, even if they didn't say specifically to us, this is my. This is, I'm going to come back, or this isn't a past life. But it's certainly a question that I think we can ask. I connect with one of my guides. His name is Jonah, and I have conversations with him. I write out the answers. I do it on we have a Sacred Letters Facebook page, and I write a lot of the communication on there. And I was asking him about love this past Sunday, and are we all able to tap into that love that is on the other side? And what he had said was that we are all love. Our soul, our being, we are love. We just have things on top of that interfering in the way. And the image that I received, as if we're laying on a bed and there's just blankets and blankets and blankets on top of us, and we just take off the blankets one by one, with every insight, with every question we have, with every trauma we release, and as we get closer to having no more blankets on us, we realize that we start with self-love. We care for ourselves.
Yeah.
And then from there, we'll grow into the love we can give one another. Because if we don't have that love for ourselves, it's so hard to give that to somebody else.
Absolutely.
And our society seems to be, a lot of people are ego-driven or achievement-oriented, and it's easy to fall into that when we live here, because that's what's all around us. But but there's nothing wrong with catering to that self-love and to focusing on ourselves and going through the introspection process and knowing ourselves, and that's how we start to feel that love.
Yeah, we have to take care of ourselves also. And we now have 3 minutes left of the show, so please tell people where they can get a hold of you, your books, and what you can do for others when they contact you.
Go ahead, Berit.
Oh, okay. So for people, if they want to visit us, our website is thesacredletters.com. There's information about our readings. If you want to connect with us or ask a question, we'd love to talk with people and answer those. And what else, Beth?
If you want to go onto our website, if you want to be apprised of future books, of our workshops, of anything going on, there's just a contact us page that's very easy to fill out. Just your name and email on the first page, and then you can get on our contact list. And we also send out weekly emails about particular topics that is going on, whether it's fear, self-doubt, love, connecting with the other side. And then we have our Facebook and Instagram page, like everybody. So the Facebook page is The Sacred Letters, and you can find us on Instagram, and we post daily.
Mm-hmm. Good.
And also you can get our book on Amazon, and that's the easiest way to get it. And it's available on Kindle and paperback.
Mm-hmm. And I had a look at that. I'll tell you, folks, if you ever wonder what's after life, what that is all about, you need to get your hands on this one, because it'll take away all fear that you may have had. And now we got 45 seconds left of the show, so if you can talk to the whole world and they would listen, what would you tell them?
That you are absolutely perfect just the way you are, and we don't need to fix anything. We just need to love ourselves. And once we love ourselves, that love will radiate, and we can make a difference in our world by loving ourselves and being kind and compassionate with one another.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Beth Stover and Beth Mund and Berit Stover, for being with us here on the Universal Consciousness Show. And next week we will be back again. So see you then. In the meantime, be good to each other.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
This has been the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Your weekly guide to a deeper understanding of the all that we are.
Well, in a few years, it will be a matter of common sense to very many people that they're one with the universe. It'll be so simple.
Live Mondays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. For more information on the show, hosts, or their guests, please visit universal-consciousness-show.com. That's universal-consciousness-show.com. Remember, there's a shift coming. A new earthly paradigm. A shift to universal consciousness.
Universal consciousness.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51.
Wait, that doesn't exist.
This is